computer up. So because I am hacking the studio today, don't worry, making you guys higher. I'm going to be probably on and off camera like this a few times because I'll have to go and get notepads. Thank you for the hearts already. I appreciate that. To grab, bags and stands and all that sort of thing. Hold on, YouTube, making you all higher. So what's going on? What's happening? I am going on location tomorrow to do headshots for a new company, which is cool. I always love it when new companies come on board. And when I do professional headshots on location, I take my entire headshot setup. Hey, thank you. I do that because what happens is then when these companies that I work with have new hires or somebody needs an update, they just book a session with the new people or whoever needs an update in the studio. And this way I can get them consistency. So like their marketing materials stay consistent. Like one of the big things that I see a lot of companies do that causes them a lot of stress later is they'll use some like really specific background or they'll do something outside for their headshots. And then when somebody new comes on board, they may not be able to find that same backdrop. They may not be able to, find the same lighting. If they did it outside, and say they did somebody's headshots in summer, but then they've got to update somebody in the winter. Now the environment doesn't look the same. Like it just causes stress down the road. So I try to come in and make everything as simple as possible. And their graphics people are always very grateful because it's easier to cut people off of backgrounds. Yes, consistency is absolutely key. I think there's a way that I can, hold on, I think I can make all this chat bigger. Yes, I can actually see the chat. That's awesome. That makes my day so much easier. So hang out with me while I'm doing this. What studio are we packing? We're packing my headshot studio. So right now, everything's over here. You'll see everything come across. So what I take lighting wise, I have 5 strobes that go with me. And okay. So 5 strobes, got 3 1x3 soft boxes. Of course, all of the, triggers to fire strobes, camera, tripod, stands, background. So it's not a huge setup, but it's a significant setup. So that's what we're doing. And we're hydrating. So lots of electrolytes today because it was that kind of weekend. I would be listening to music when I do this as well, but I don't want to get my feed shut down for copyright material because that would be most unfortunate. And of course, if you guys have questions as we're doing any of this, feel free to fire them off. I will answer them as I see them. If you ask a question and I miss it because I'm moving around, please feel free to ask it again. I will, happy to help out everybody where I can. And I know a lot of photographers right now are at WPPI, so I hope you guys are there. If you're watching me at WPPI right now, it's early there. Weren't you up late? And actually, what I'm going to try to do today is if I can get in early, like if the gig's not till the gig is not until tomorrow. But I'm hoping I can get in today to set everything up because it just makes my tomorrow morning easier. Sometimes companies will let me do that, sometimes not. Either way is fine. Just, I'm all about removing as much friction when I do these kind of jobs as possible. So one thing that I do, and I did a whole long YouTube video about this on the last one of these jobs that I did. Thing that I do when I'm packing the studio to go on location is I lay everything out so that I can see everything before it gets packed. And there's a reason for that. Let me go get my lighting back. I think, I'll tell you in a second. Everybody hold on. Okay, lighting bag is acquired. So many years ago, I had to go on location to do headshots for the CEO of a very, very, very big company, nationwide company. I can't say the name due to NDAs and whatnot, but it was big and it was a big job. So I was packing to do the job, loading everything up, and I get a phone call that my grandmother in the nursing home was actively passing away right then. So I go, oh crap, gotta go. So I packed everything really, really fast, got it in the car, and grabbed my wife, got to the nursing home, was there with my grandmother, So the next morning, I go do this job. And they hired me because I'd worked with them before, and they want my lighting look for things, right? So I get there and I'm unpacking, and I realized I didn't have my strip boxes, which are kind of imperative for my look. So I'm like, oh no, I am screwed. And I didn't have time to run back to my studio. And I'm starting to try to text my wife to see if she can run to the studio. It's going to be a massive inconvenience for her because, she runs her own business too. And thank you for the roses. That's awesome. Sorry, I just saw that. I appreciate it. So I'm kind of freaking out about this. And about that time, this company has their own production studio on site. A guy came in carrying 2 road cases, and I look at him and I go, are those Kino flows? And if you don't know what Kino flows are, they're a constant light fluorescent tube meant for TV studios and production. My mentor, when he was building his business, built his entire portfolio using Kino flows. So I'm familiar with these lights, and they're the right size and shape and everything that I need. So I look at this guy, I'm like, are those Kino flows? And he was like, yeah, they are. And I was like, can I use them? And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So he set the Kinos up for me, and completely, it saved my bacon in a major way. I had with me a different lighting modifier, so I could have still shot the headshots. They just would have looked different than what I normally do. And I got, not to be all woo woodgy about it, but it's almost like my grandma was watching out real quick. Not that she knew what Kino flows were, but yeah, it's just kind of funny how that stuff works out. All that to say, after that experience, I now lay out every single thing so I can put an eyeball to it, and I can touch it before it goes into the bag, so that when I get on location, I know I have every single thing that I need. And I also, when I can help it, try not to pack my gear when a family member is actively dying, little things. So I didn't mean to be a bummer on Monday morning. It was like we knew it was coming, but yeah, it happens. You're going to see me be haphazard about some stuff too, like that. I'm very delicate with my things. I just know what pieces of gear I can abuse and which ones I can't. So, I don't think anything is happening on YouTube. So TikTok, you guys are getting all the love over here. And if YouTube kicks up, it kicks up. I'm really working very hard to try to build my watch hours up on that other app, the play button app as well, and making a lot of videos. So I know there's only a couple of you all here right now, but I want your opinion on this. So I've been playing with, hello from Peru. That's awesome. Thank you for checking in. So I've been playing with some longer form content over on that platform. And what I've been doing, kind of the game plan is going, okay, so I'm going to do client facing educational videos, obviously, right? So like, what to wear, what to expect, that sort of thing. Doing some photographer education stuff, lighting stuff, motivation stuff, business stuff. And then also doing some personal vlogs, like the real life Ben Markham, like me and my wife hanging out, taking the dog to a record store, that sort of thing. Things that aren't business related at all, but are just me. Because at the end of the day, what I'm looking at and what I see is I go, I'm more than just Ben the photographer, right? Like I'm Ben the husband, I'm Ben the dog, cat, chicken dad, I'm, son, I like music and cocktails, all these other things. And so I'm trying to bring some of that in. So I guess the question where I'm asking your all's opinion is, do you all want to see that sort of thing in longer form video? Is it the kind of content that you would watch on YouTube? And there's already some of them up over there. To get to know more of the person. Do you know what I mean? And like the style that I've mainly been doing those is kind of like Casey Neistat, if you're familiar with his stuff. So like you get some, walking and talking, and then there's some B-roll, and then there's some action, and then there's some whatever. And it's kind of fun to make. It's a lot to think about making when you're in the middle of it. But I don't know, if it's something that people aren't going to watch and it's just going to confuse the channel, then, I'm not going to waste my time with it either. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And yeah. Oh wait, why is that set to top? I want live. Live, baby. Keep it on live. Is it already almost 11 o'clock? Like I slept terribly last night, and because of that, like everything just feels off and discombobulated today. I have a feeling there's probably a gnat in my future. And you can also tell who the stagehand was by how I coil cables. Years ago at WPPI, I was helping Hurley do some stuff, like load in, load out off stage. And there were, several of us helping. There was a guy there, very nice guy or whatever, photographer, learning, whatever. And, like early in our meetings, was fond of telling me about, how he's like former construction worker, unflappable, and how guys would like bust each other's balls and stuff on the job and whatever. And then like he did some ball busting as well, which is fine. So it's like I thought there was a relationship. I thought there was a thing. It's like, okay, cool. We're cool. We're already at a place where we can, bust balls a little bit. So come to find out, that's not the case. So like we're packing up after Peter did a demonstration on stage. And at this point, Peter already had the Flex kit out, if you're a photographer and you're familiar. So it had like a control box and a very thin cable to go to it. So this construction guy takes the cable, very thin cable, and just start tight wrapping, takes it around this box. Hold on, I'm reading your content here. I think I prefer more content about photography and some of life of a photographer because, yeah. Okay, thank you for that. That's very, very helpful. So the guy was like, he was wrapping this cable really hard and tight around this metal box, and joking and busting balls. I was like, whoa, stop. I did it, kindly, and I was like, back in my theater days, I'd fire people for that. Let me help you with that. And like, it was just all in good fun. Evidently it was not. So bro got very angry, and I didn't see him get very angry. But he did. And he stormed out and then called Peter from his car and talked about how if me or another photographer was around, he wasn't gonna be involved. Like this whole thing over just me being like, ball busting. We did eventually, kiss and make up and whatever. It's fine. But I was like, man, if you've been busting my balls for 2 days and you can't take it when I do it once, oof. Anyway, I don't know. The coiling of the cables just triggered that. I'm trying to keep all this on camera as much as possible. So. And YouTube, if you guys have any questions too, I see there's some of you here. Feel free to post those in the chat. I will answer questions as best I can as I see them. I was supposed to go to the gym today as well, but being as exhausted as I am, I was just like, that's gonna be a bad day. My head's not really in it, which happens. How long have I been a photographer? I have been a photographer. Okay, so the photography story. So I took a photography class in high school back in 1995, 1996. Yes, I'm aging myself. At that point, they didn't really teach us, how to be a portrait photographer or anything like that. Like we would have a couple like still life projects or whatever. And it was more than anything else, how to use a darkroom. So I had like the basics of how to use an SLR, how to process film, print things, whatever. So I worked in the professional theater or as an audio engineer. I'm going the long way around to answer your question. I worked in professional theater or as a sound engineer from the time I was 15 until I was like 35, 36, and had my early midlife crisis, left the theater, and I was doing website design. Somebody needed, like in 2012, somebody needed some photos for their website. And I was like, I'll buy a DSLR. It's a tax write-off. I can take photos of the dog. It'd be great. That's how it all started, was late 2012. I didn't officially go into business with it, and I made it official on January 1st of 2013. So long way around. 2000, I consider it 2013 that I have been a working photographer. At the time when I was first getting going, uh, I really had no idea what I was doing. Um, my my early photography work is hot garbage juice. Um, um, so but that's process and everything, right? Like started and learned and kept learning. I decided to like when I was first getting going, especially as the business of it, um, I, I I wasn't really sure how to treat it like a business, and I assumed at that point that I would have uh, to be successful and sorry for the noise. Be successful and make money at it. I would have to do everything. So I'd have to do like weddings and families and parks and babies and all that sort of stuff. And it was a bunch of stuff I didn't enjoy doing. Um, and then at the same time, here in Louisville, there was a group of photographers that were doing really, really beautiful fashion kind of work, fashion and editorial. And so I was like, oh, well, that's like they're doing it and they're successful. So I guess that's what I need to be doing. I found out much later that like not all, actually at the time, none of them were doing it full time. I didn't find that out until much later. They were doing it for fun, but because of how they presented on social media, they looked very successful, right? So I did what you shouldn't do, and I bought into the gimmicks, and it actually slowed me down. So I eventually took about maybe a year for this to 8 months, a year. I got to thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? It was like, from what I see, there is no one in my town that is specializing in professional headshots. There are people who, wedding photographers, family photographers, or whatever, that'll be like, yeah, I'll do like a headshot mini and like, make a quick buck, but like nobody specialized in it. And my brain went, okay, you've been around headshots your whole life because of your theater career. So you know them. Why don't you become that guy? And it's head and shoulders. How hard can headshots be? Come to find out, professional headshots are really hard, and it's really hard to do professional headshots well. My first ones that I did are very, very bad. And I didn't have the confidence, like if people wanted to do something that I wasn't trying to do, I didn't have the confidence in myself to be like, no, you're right. So I ended up signing on with Peter Hurley's training program, the Headshot Crew, and studied and worked and worked and worked. And headshots became the first real part of this business, and when this business actually became profitable and sustainable. Then the other parts of the business, because as you may or may not know, depending on how much you follow me or do whatever, I also do portrait and boudoir photography. Thank you, Friar Mayo over on YouTube. He says, my pants are so cool. Actually, not pants. This is, let's see if I can get back. This is a Utilikilt. So it's a kilt from a company called Utilakilts, not sponsored in any way, just think the world of them. They make working working weight kilts for people, blue collar kind of folks. This one is actually, well, for anybody, but they're working weight, they're heavy. This particular kilt they call the mocker, which is kind of their little poke at dockers. But yeah, very, very comfortable, very durable, highly recommend. If you've never if you're a gentleman who's never worn a kilt before, it'll change your world, change everything. So, but thank you. But as I was saying, if you follow my work or see anything, you just know that I also specialize in portrait work and in artistic style of boudoir photography. So it's kind of the three main things that I do. Like I don't do weddings. Yeah, keep playing until you find what you. So YouTube, what the comment over here was makes Susanna feel like she hasn't found her niche yet. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received, and I talked about this on a live the other day. It was a friend of mine sat me down and said, "Man, you just gotta shoot stuff that you want to look at," and that kind of changed everything in my head. Thank you. So, okay. Susanna over on TikTok complimented my work, said my work's amazing. So funny thing about that, ego is a bitch, right? So the other day, I went through and I was looking at all of my work, and I had seen some other things on social media and got down in the dumps and looked through all my stuff. I was like, oh, maybe I'm really just terrible at this. Maybe all of this is garbage. Maybe so. It's I think that's a thing that we as creatives deal with, and I'd be willing to bet, and I have zero evidence to back this up, that probably people who wouldn't consider themselves creatives, but are active on social media or want to be active on social media, are probably starting to experience some of that same imposter syndrome. I don't know why I did that as a question. That's exactly what it is. It's amazing how we can see something, compare ourselves to it, and then beat ourselves up a little bit. Or a lot of it, as my case was for a couple of days. But thank you very much. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy that I get to do it. It's I always say to clients, like, man, this sure beats working for a living, and it does. It really, really does. Okay, other things that always go with me when I go on location, got my strobes over here. Always take extra flash tubes with you, because you don't want to get out there and. Yes, absolutely. Friar Mayo over on YouTube says, yeah, it's all about perspective. And to be honest, comparison is the thief of joy. And that is 100% correct. It really, really is. So advice from me to all of you is, if you are staring at social media at any point and you find yourself starting to go down that rabbit hole, put your phone down, go do something else, because it's not a fun place to be. So, and thank you for that. I'm still not used to trying to stream in two places, and eventually I'll have software dialed in where I can do it all at once. So if I seem discombobulated, please bear with me. All right, so then I need to make sure. I'm missing one of these. Did I set it over here? I did. And if you all have any questions or anything about the gear or the studio or anything that I do, I'm an open book. Feel free to fling questions at me. Happy to answer anything and everything. I think this is the first time that I've done this packing job without music. Fire Mayo over on YouTube asks, what camera do I use primarily? And what my go-to, my big dog, I've got all sorts of crap hooked up to it right now. Hold on. I meant for this to go far smoother than that just did. I shoot the Nikon D850. So this is my workhorse, and my backup is a Nikon D800. So yeah, this one's actually due for a trip to New York soon. It just needs some basic maintenance because I've been pushing it 9 years now. I've been working this thing to. So yeah, but this is my buddy. What I started the business with was the Nikon D50-100. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't start a business with a inexpensive camera. So the kit for this, which is like this camera, 2 lenses, a bag, a memory card, charger, battery, blah blah blah. I think grand total for everything was $500. I think it's been since 2013. So yeah, started the business with like right off the shelf at Best Buy. Got one of the, oh, does it? Oh, it's not going to pop. Does it have to be on? It's got one of those god awful pop-up flashes, which I've evidently forgotten how to just make pop. I think it does it automatically. Every time I see one of these little cheap ass pop-up flashes go, A, nobody uses them right. B, they look like garbage. Every time I see one pop up, I want to open it like a beer can. But that's just me. Firemire says, I got a Sony A7 III using a Prime 50, thinking about getting a second lens in between. Yeah, so I'm gonna try a whole sentence again. The only Prime that I have is a 50, and I rarely use it anymore. My go-to lens, it's the 70-200 2.8. It rarely comes off of this camera. So, yeah, but I think it really depends on what you're shooting. Like for me in the work that I do, I wouldn't like 24 is, going down that far is just too wide for me. I would never use it. I think in the past 10 years, there's only been like three shoots that I've done where I needed like a 35, or like where I was shooting like a group of 15, 30 people, whatever. And in those cases, for me, I would just rent something or borrow something from a friend. So yeah, it just depends on what you're shooting. Primarily, I am just doing studio portrait, so headshots, studio portrait, studio boudoir, and I have plenty of space in here. So this sucker works great. I'm considering. And I don't know why I'm considering, because everything works. Like, I'm not a big gear guy. Considering either a 105 prime or an 85 for my headshot work. But, but then on the same time, I go, if this sucker's working great, why spend the money? I'm at this point, with where business is and everything, I'd rather invest that money into some other things. And, how marketing, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do this, I'm just prattling about my own stuff. Stuff like marketing and how AI is changing the SEO landscape significantly. So I would invest in that to make sure that my business is staying above. And then, uh, you know, marketing's hard for this thing though, especially to find somebody else to market a photography business for you is really difficult. Um, I have yet to find anybody that can market it as well as I do. Um, and depending on who you talk to, I may or may not do an okay job with it. No, how are we doing over here? TikTok. I see some new folks have joined, so if anybody has questions or anything, feel free to fire questions at me. I am an open book, so you can ask about photography, you can ask about the business of photography, you can ask about me and my wife and us hanging out or dog training or whatever. Happy to do whatever. And Fire Mayo says, just been doing car photography and street, but that extra range with the 7200 open. Yeah, that's a good question. So what you could do, Fire Mayo is saying not knowing what route to go with lenses to purchase. What you could do so you don't end up just wasting money and causing things is just rent both of them and go play. Like I know my local camera shop does rentals, and I think there's some online rental houses as well. Um, Rent them, see what you like before you go spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I think that's what lenses cost these days. I don't know. I haven't bought one in a while. Like I'm pretty cheap about that kind of stuff. Like just in general, like I find things that I like and then I just don't change. You know, it's it's that way with gear. It's that way with clothes. It's like if you were to open my closet, it's like a cartoon dead. Like I find what I like and then I just buy a bunch of them. So like this particular Henley found one that I liked and I like the fit. Bought 10 Utila kilts. Found what I liked. Bought like 6 of them. My gym clothes. I found a set tank top that I like. Found a pair of shorts that I like. Found a set of socks that I like. 20 of them. I don't enjoy thinking about it. My car. I drive a 2001 just because like it works. It hasn't fallen apart yet. so like when it comes to that's why I'm not really a gear guy too. It's like, man, I've got everything that I need. I'm happy. It works. I make my clients happy. The important stuff. Sorry if I'm making a lot of noise into this microphone, but that is a good deal. So Fire Mail was lamenting with me about being frugal. So I think frugal sounds much nicer. Thank you all for getting me off on story tirades too. It makes doing the whole live thing a whole lot easier. Like I've seen other people, other creators or whatever, like just come on lives and like just eat, like not interact with anybody or anything, like just literally sit there and eat their lunch. And I was like, and people watch it, which is fascinating to me. Like I don't want somebody just eat lunch for an hour and I understand that too. Or like as I was studying kind of some, lifestyle content on the longer form platform and like watching some of the lifestyle creators, like 30-minute videos, 40-minute videos of them just walking around their house and sweeping and doing stuff and not saying a word and have huge followings. Like these are like videos that have like hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm like, what really? Like people are just watching people like clean their house and make lunch and stuff. And if that's your jam, that's your jam. I'm not coming down on that at all. You know, do what makes you happy, do what gives you peace. I am 100% here for that. It was just a little bit shocking because it's not what I thought it would be. And it is a little strange doing the lifestyle content. I will say that because like the remembering the, you know, oh, I've got to get my phone out and record, or I've got to set the phone down and like walk past it and then, you know, and then come back and get it and that sort of stuff. There's the other light stand that I need. So, all right, guys, I tell you what I'm going to do because I'm getting distracted and I don't want to forget any gear. So I'm going to shut these down. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I will be doing more lives this week. I'm getting better about doing lives. So if you're not following, I know it's shameless, but be sure to like, follow, hit notifications or whatever, so it lets you know when I'm going live. If at any point you all have, if you have questions for me, feel free to let me know. Like if you've got a question, somebody else probably has that same question and I'm happy to answer. So everybody have a great Monday. I'm going to go ahead and call it now. We're all going to have an amazing freaking week. So have a good one, y'all. Thanks.